Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Opportunistic Trader. As we've done most weeks, come Friday afternoon, everybody needs a bit of a distraction, so we talk some football. Everybody loves Week 4 of the NFL is coming up, and we're joined by Brad Feinberg, who Brad has won Fan Duel's $1 million prize in 2016. He's done really well in DraftKings. He's been in the finals, two times, FanDuel three times in basketball and football. And so he's definitely a fantasy football and DraftKings expert. And so, Brad, how are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's almost the weekend, almost week 4 of football. And last night we were just talking about it. I mean, crazy game. Tons of fantasy points, but it wasn't the weekend. So a lot of people aren't applying those points.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, the Rams they're really tough. I mean, they are really, really, really tough. And yeah, it was a great viewing game yesterday. It really was because Minnesota played, I thought, on offense at least played exceptional as well. And just a really good game. A really good game. But hopefully this will be a great weekend. I'm looking forward to it as always. And
Yeah,
hopefully,
another good young quarterback. Jared Goff was throwing some beautiful passes last night and picked up some massive fantasy points.
it's a good lesson. It's funny. I remember with Jared Goff, and I don't know if if you remember, there was a show on Amazon Prime where they do it's kind of like their version of Hard Knocks. They film a team for 16 games, and it was Jared Goff's rookie season with Jeff Fisher as the head coach. And if you would watch that, which I did, uh, and you watch Jared Goff his rookie season, if I told you he was doing what he's doing now, I would have thought there's a better chance of every Democrat loving Kavanaugh right now. Like it just you wouldn't have think it's humanly possible. And now the guy looks, yeah, he looks unbelievable. It's
I
just like
think a
again, like
combination. He's got some great talent with him, and then but some of the passes, forget the talent, they were right on the money. I saw a few of
oh, they
those
were
last night.
incredible. He could play till he's 40 years old. I would say the odds are that he'll never play as well as he played last night. I mean, he played a perfect game. I mean, remember the Villanova Georgetown game back in 1985 when Villanova played the perfect game? To me, Jared Goff played the perfect game last night. I mean, you couldn't play better. You only could tie what he did. You could never do better than what he did. I mean, that was as good as I've seen a guy ever play. He threw
Yeah.
every pass perfectly, as you said, and it was just you know,
So,
well,
so as we look ahead to the weekend, what catches your eye? What are some people that you're really focused on? I know last week you talked to us about how on basically Tuesday, Wednesday, you take a look at every single game and every
yeah,
single player. You look for undervalue, overvalue. Who sticks out this weekend?
few guys. The guy who I'm really focusing in on this week in terms of my quarterback is Eli Manning. I believe he was 5,600. Usually not a big Eli Manning fan, um, but based on his price and the projection that I gave him, he's the quarterback that came out as the clear, and it was very clear on my algorithm, the clear best play of any quarterback. Again, the Saints defense has been like horrible to be kind, beyond horrible, just to be honest. Um, and they've been getting torched every single week. And in that same vein, um, I mean, again, and for people who play tournaments, I'm very bullish on the Giants stack this week. Um, Sterling Shepard at 4,900 as a wide receiver, I thought was the best wide receiver play. They lost their starting tight end, Evan Ingram, which opened up some targets for in addition to Beckham to their next receiver, which is Sterling Shepard. And I think he's a spectacular play. I also think Saquon Barkley at running back is a great play. I think that the Giants, again, I think based on what those guys' prices are and how many points I think they're going to score in the game, I think that's just a very strong correlated play, especially again in tournaments. Um,
So you
I
think that, sorry, so just to clarify that, you think that basically the Giants are going against New Orleans defense, you just think that it's undervalued. People are throwing in the
yes,
towel on the Giants as a whole.
yeah, I think that again, Shepard at 49 and Shepard and Eli to me were, I want to say, like no brainers. I mean, based on what they should do, again, what I project them to do. Now, and Odell and Saquon made a lot of my teams as well too, based on the projections I gave them. So again, it's very rare that I have that kind of situation where so many players from a team make it. But a lot of times, if you're doing a tournament, there's cash games where you're just trying to pick the best players and you're just trying to beat one opponent, or if you're doing a double up, you're trying to beat half the people. So you don't care if you come in, if you just beat half the people, you don't care if you come in first or you just do one better than you need to win. But if you're doing a tournament, you're shooting for the moon. And if whether you come in last, or if you come in 50th percentile, it's the same difference. You're trying to come in the top 10%. So you're trying to correlate your plays. And if you take Eli Manning, and if Eli Manning is the best quarterback or is a great quarterback, what's that mean? Well, it means that Odell Beckham probably did great. Sterling Shepard probably did great. Saquon Barkley could have caught a touchdown pass, and he could have had a very good game too. So, you try to correlate your stuff. There's another, I like Giovanni Bernard a lot. Came up a lot on my teams. He was 6,300. The Falcons, their philosophy on defense is to let running backs catch the ball. That's how they try to, funnel their stuff through, is to let the running backs do the damage receiving wise. And they have given up a ton of catches to Christian McCaffrey, to Alvin Kamara. And since last year, they've given up the most catches and receiving yards to any running back in the NFL. And Gio Bernard, that's his specialty. Great receiving back, only $6,300. I think kind of an automatic play as well. I thought Ezekiel Elliott at 7,700 was very reasonable. Lions, not an exceptional defense. Zeke should really get a healthy dose this week. And I think he was a strong play. And for a cheaper running back, I liked Marshawn Lynch. I believe he was 4,800, if I remember correctly. And again, he's been pretty consistent. It's a game they're favored to win. And when you take teams that are at home that are favored to win, the running backs are usually a strong play, because if they're favored to win, they're at home. Usually it means they're running the ball a lot, and because they have the lead. So I thought he was a strong play in that position as well.
Interesting. What about any of the top quarterbacks? You think that they'll have a big game? Any favorable matchups, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I really, again, I was very heavily biased towards Eli this week based on his price at 5,600. I just thought it was just a really great play. If you're looking to take a shot, I think he was $4,500, and he doesn't need much to hit. It's a risk. But at $4,500, I think that Josh Rosen at that price, if he throws 2 touchdown passes, will smash value. And it's not impossible that he does that. Again, it's his first game against Seattle, but this Seattle team is not the Legion of Boom Seattle team that, a lot of us grew up following. So I think that could hit. I think Derek Carr was a little cheaper than he should have been as well. Again, these are cheap guys I think have a chance to hit. Now, the most expensive quarterbacks this week were Aaron Rodgers, which, again, he's at home against Buffalo. So I get it. But
what's the price on Aaron Rodgers against Buffalo?
I think he was 6,700 or 6,800, something like that. But again, it's, he's a little nicked up. His mobility, again, in DraftKings, you get for every 10 yards, if you run, you get a point. And Aaron Rodgers used to run for 30 yards a game, which is 3 points, which is a lot. And if he doesn't get those 3 points a game, it could be a rushing touchdown, which is, 6 points or whatever it is. It definitely hurts him when, he has not looked right since he has his MCL sprain. So he could definitely hit. Again, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's the best when healthy. I think he's probably the best player in the NFL, but I don't think he's healthy. So,
what about changing position? What about Sony Michel in New England? Is he going to?
I like Sony Michel. He was another cheap running back I did like. I actually put Sony Michel in on. I made sure I put him again. I do 150 of these millionaire makers, and what I'll do is there's certain guys that I just say, you know what, I want to maybe have at least seven, 8 shares of Sony Michel. So I'll put him in. Sony Michel is one of the guys I put in because I agree with you. Good situation. Now they're going to use James White a lot on passing downs for sure. But it's funny, I watch a lot of college football. When I watched Sony Michel last year at Georgia, I thought after Saquon Barkley, he was the second best running back. I was a big fan. He did not look good to me when I watched him against the Lions on Sunday night. He didn't seem elusive. I don't know if he's still hurt. He didn't look like the guy from Georgia that I thought was, like he had like some Alvin Kamara in him. But that being said, again, the usage, everything's about usage, and he has a real good chance. I agree with you, usage-wise, to get a lot of carries, get some receptions, be the potentially the goal line back because they lost Rex Burkhead and Jeremy Hill to IR. So yeah, I like that call by you. And I definitely played him on some of my teams.
Well, I'm hoping that kicks up next week because I'm a Dolphin fan, so I'm hoping we stuff him a lot this week. But yeah, it looks like he's going to really, like you said, a lot of the other guys on the IR, so he has a chance to really step up and get a ton of carries.
Yeah, I think so. And a tight end I like this week. I thought his price at 3,200 was pretty good. Was David Njoku of Cleveland? I think with Baker Mayfield,
But what
that whole
happened? Didn't he
team.
do nothing last week?
What's that?
Didn't he get blanked last week, or did he?
Njoku.
Yeah.
Njoku caught two passes both in the second half when Mayfield played. So he had two catches in the second half when Mayfield played. So prorate that, you get four again for $3,200. He doesn't need much to be a decent play, and I think he's a talented guy. And what I do like about him is I think he's a red zone target. So if they get the 6 yard line, 7 yard line inside the red zone, I think he's a guy they will look for in the end zone. And I think he could just hit his value by getting, a short touchdown. I think he was a decent play. And I also liked a couple receivers. I liked Antonio Callaway potentially. He was 4,300. Talented guy. Again, with Tyrod Taylor, would not have liked him, but Mayfield seemed to throw the ball downfield more, and I think he has a chance to hit at 4,300. I don't think that's I don't think that's impossible that he could hit.
So the Browns are coming off. They played Thursday, so they have about 10 days off, but they're traveling out west to the Oakland
Yes.
team who has blown 3 leads. So Oakland is got to be a make or break game for Oakland.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I thought Amari Cooper in that game, I thought he was 5,600, if I remember correctly. He was another one of the receivers that I wrote down 5 receivers I thought were underpriced: Odell, Shepard, Amari Cooper, Callaway, and Marvin Jones. I thought 5 of those guys, those were the 5 receivers that were coming up most on my thing this week. Now Amari's going against a pretty good cornerback in Denzel Ward, and Amari is a very, hit or miss player. But I think he still definitely has it in him to have a decent game, and I still think he's Carr's number 1 target. And I think Jared Cook also at tight end could be a decent play at 4,100 in that game as well.
Yeah. What about when you take a look at individual games? Is there any opportunities you see there that you like, individual matchups?
Yeah, well, it's fun. Well, and from a betting perspective, a game that I personally did like was, and I took it laying 2.5. I think it's up to 3 now. But I personally think the Bears are legitimately better than Tampa Bay. I think the Bears, especially at home, because I don't like their quarterback at all, Trubisky, but I think their defense is outside of Jacksonville, maybe the second best in the NFL. And while I respect what Ryan Fitzpatrick has done these first 3 weeks for sure, you'd be crazy not to respect it. I think this is a tough matchup for them. And I think that the Bears are gonna. I'd be surprised if this was even a close game.
You think the Fitzpatrick magic runs out?
Yeah, I just think I think that the Bears are at home are a very, very tough defensive team. And I think that they'll do enough offensively where, it could be like one of those 27-13 kind of games, we'll see. Again, it's in the NFL again, you just have to, if you can go 5-4 and win 55%, you could be a millionaire. Okay. You only got to go 5-4, and this could easily be one of the 4 I'm wrong on. No question about it. But I think this game, I think this game is in that subset where I think it can win, uh, 55% of the time, which is what you need to be a winning gambler.
Have you heard anything that I heard a stat that the casinos are actually doing really well so far this season because people, when it comes down to it, are just completely clueless. We have no idea what's coming out. The favorites just aren't covering, and you get some surprises like Tampa Bay week one beating New Orleans, last week Buffalo beating Minnesota. It's just a complete random walk out there right now.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, but here's the thing: these casinos are never going to lose. Like, I'll give you just to like you're listening here. Here, let's suppose on a game, and I'm just going to throw this out. You have on a game. That's a 50-50 game. Okay, all these games are 50-50 with the spread, right? It's minus 110 each side. Let's suppose the casino has $7,000. Obviously, they got much more than $7,000, but $7,000 on one side. Okay, so it's a $7,700 risk if the other team loses, and 4,000 on the other side. So if the casino wins, they win 7,700 less 4,000, so they win $3,700. If the player wins, they lose 4,400, um, and they less the 7,000, so it's 3,700 to 26 odds. The casino is getting on a 50-50 proposition. They're getting like $1.42 just on just a game that's 50-50. Like they don't. It's a misconception that they need these games to be evened out, and they need to get a 50-50 uh, thing on distribution on these games, because on these games they're going to be getting like odds on every single game that is 50-50, and they're just going to make money. These casinos can't lose because you need to go 52.38% to break even. And the average person, the average gambler, in my opinion, the average Joe is probably going to be in the high 40s, because yes, they probably overtake favorites, and they quote unquote play the square side. So, but again, even doing that, they're still probably like 48%. It's not like these gamblers are going to be like 40%. That's another misconception. Even a bad gambler could be 47%, and that's horrible. But it's still not. It's not like you're picking 40%. It's
Yeah, no, I'm just getting hearing from different sources. Different, it's just increasingly just been a very difficult start to the NFL season for experts.
Sure. Yeah. Listen. Again, again. I said there's no free lunches. This stuff's never easy. But again, the casinos, they're never going to lose. They're never going to lose. They always are getting the 11 to 10 from you, and they're getting 11 to 10 on something that these lines are extremely efficient, and you have to be very talented to beat. For example, in that game I told you, the Bears game, I laid 2.5. The line's now 3. They charge 25 cents. That same game I'm laying 110. I now have to lay 135 if I wanted to lay 2.5. That's the best way to beat this stuff, is being ahead of a line move, which is much easier said than done. Much
Yeah,
easier said than done. But it's hard. It's hard to beat 11 to 10. It really is.
right. That's why
But
big beautiful hotels with a
yep,
lot of money out there.
it's well said. It's well said. But look, it's fun. Look, people like to gamble. People. It's something that it's crazy. It took this long for it to happen. Um, and again, we'll look back like 50 years from now and we'll laugh like, oh my God, can you believe in like 2017 people couldn't gamble? Like, what the heck? Um, and it's crazy that it really did take this long, because again, society loves to gamble, and it's not just here; it's in Europe, it's every country, and people love to bet on the NFL, and they always will, and it's only going to get, now that it's good that it's becoming mainstream, because the NFL, like, you try to hide, almost pretend like people didn't like to gamble. Like, it was like, oh my God, but it's who doesn't like to, everyone, basically everyone. I mean, if you take a poll among your friends, I would say almost everyone, they do some kind of fantasy, some kind of elimination pool, some kind of betting on the games. I mean, I would almost say it's 95% of the average NFL fan. I may be low when I say 95%, does either an elimination or a fantasy, or they bet the games.
Yeah, it could be. I wonder what that stat actually is.
Yeah, I think
And
it's.
on that
I don't know
elimination, I
one
hear
person.
elimination matches are all done at this point between
Yeah,
one with that.
I got eliminated with Minnesota last week, but I do not know. I can honestly tell you this: I do not have one friend that I know that watches pro football that I know that does not either gamble on the games, do fantasy on the games, or do an elimination pool. And I do not know one. And I'd be curious. Yeah, I would be curious to know the number. And and now that again that they're finally like embracing it, and it's becoming legal in every state, and people don't have to
Exactly
hide
what you're
behind this
saying
stuff.
is exactly what you're saying is why we have you on right now, because people love to talk about it, love to get ready for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of interest. Great time of year, week 4. I can't believe already the season's flying
yeah,
by.
quarter waypoint, my friend, quarter waypoint. So it's yeah, football's the best. Football's the best.
Yeah, but on that, you also take a look at NBA, and that's coming up as well. So maybe next week, if you're available, and we can talk about it offline. But it would be great. I know that you take a look, and you really pride yourself on some season-long NBA over/unders, things like
I
that.
do. I do. That is
Maybe
something that I
next
do
week we
well
could
on.
take a look. When does the season start?
I think it's October 15th here,
Yeah,
October
so it's getting
16th.
close.
Yeah, getting close. Getting close.
So, all right. Well, that's Brad Feinberg. Thanks a lot. A lot of great information. Good distraction from the markets for a little bit. Good luck this weekend, Brad. Hope you win some big prizes out in the fantasy football.
Hey, Eli Manning this week. That's what I need. So we'll
That's
see.
an out
Hopefully
of
he
the
has a good
box
week.
one. A lot of people I've seen his stats or his
No,
ranking is
again, funny thing is, and I'll let you go on this note. I am not an Eli fan. I think he's so far past his prime. This is
it's a
100% a
value
matchup
play.
thing value where I think there's going to be points scored in the game. And again, like this will probably be the one time out of 16 games that I like Eli Manning. There will not be another time I like him the rest of the year. But this is the one time. Again, I'm not stubborn. I try to have an open mind that even though I do not like this particular player, I like him in this particular week. Okay. But I do not think Eli Manning is still a quote unquote good quarterback. I think he's in a tremendous situation. And I think it's the game where they're going to need to score points. Hence, and he's cheap. Hence why I like him for this one game of the season.
Good. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. All right. Thanks a lot, Brad.
Be good.